Welcome back to the Legal Brief, the show where we crush the various legal myths and misinformation surrounding various areas of the gun world. I'm your host, Adam Kraut, and today we're talking about Florida's new gun control.
Silencer Co. is offering the first ever suppressed muzzleloader since the inception of the NFA. The Maxim 50 is a 50 caliber muzzleloader with a permanently attached sound moderator, able to be purchased without going to a gun store and filling out a 4473. You can even get this thing shipped straight to your door in freedom-loving states. To find out more, check out the link in the video description or head over to silencerco.com.
Recently, Governor Rick Scott signed the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act into law. The law enacts a number of changes in the areas of mental health, firearms rights, and school safety. We're only going to discuss the first two. In the mental health arena, the law prohibits an individual who is adjudicated mentally defective or committed to a mental institution. That provision mimics current federal law, so it shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody. The new law also creates a process for the police to petition a court for a risk protection order, or an RPO. The RPO is used to temporarily prevent a person who is at high risk of harming themselves or others from accessing firearms. This order can be issued for up to 12 months, requires all firearms and ammunition be surrendered, and has a process to either extend or vacate that order. The Florida legislature also passed a provision that's commonly being referred to as a red flag law. The new law allows for police to take firearms and ammunition from a person who's in custody and being taken for an involuntary examination under Florida's Baker Act. They're also able to retain those firearms and ammunition for up to 24 hours after that person is released, subject to that person not having an RPO order filed against them or a firearms disability, such as being involuntarily committed for mental health reasons. There's already one reported instance of the red flag law being utilized. A link is down in the description. The thing I see you guys talking about the most are the provisions relating to firearms themselves. The new law implements a 3-day waiting period for all firearms, or a waiting period that continues until the completion of the background check, whichever is later. Exceptions to this waiting period generally are provided to concealed weapons permit holders, so if you're in Florida, you should probably go get one if you don't have one. For firearms other than handguns, such as shotguns or rifles, there are exceptions for individuals who have completed the 16-hour hunter safety course, those who hold a valid Florida hunting license, and of course, our favorite law enforcement, correctional officers, and service members, which includes both active duty and National Guard. After the bill was passed, the press release stated the bill addressed two of the most frequent requests senators heard from the families of victims, simply to raise the age for purchasing a firearm and ban devices that turn a legal firearm into an illegal weapon. And here I thought there was already a law against turning things into illegal guns. Silly me, right? As you may have guessed, this did two things. First, the new law banned bump fire stocks from being imported, transferred, distributed, sold, possessed, or being given away within the state. That's right, they banned the possession of bump fire stocks for no reason. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that's great. I'm gonna keep mine anyway. They'll never know or they'll never care, right? Well, violation of that provision earns you a felony of the 3rd degree, which means you'll no longer be able to own firearms or ammunition, period. Perhaps more interesting is how the term bump-fired stock is defined. The legislator defined the term to mean a conversion kit, a tool, an accessory, or a device used to alter the rate of fire of a firearm to mimic automatic weapon fire, or which is used to increase the rate of fire to a faster rate than is possible for a person to fire such semi-automatic firearm unassisted by a kit, tool, accessory, or device. Your head hurt yet? So does mine. Time will tell if this includes things like binary triggers, etc., but it certainly seems like it does. The definition's rather ambiguous, given a person can fire a semi-automatic firearm pretty quickly, without the need for any of that stuff. The new law also prohibits licensed firearms dealers, importers, and manufacturers from selling a firearm to people under 21 years of age. That's right. The Florida legislature has now made it short of impossible for a single mother under 21 to exercise her constitutional right to defend herself and her children within her home. Of course, there's exceptions for military, law enforcement, and correctional officers when purchasing rifles or shotguns. Seeing a trend here? The NRA was quick to challenge that provision in court. The bill was actually signed into law early on a Friday, and by day's end, the NRA had already filed suit asking for an injunction. The complaint is down in the description. So let's recap. The new law adds a risk protection order that can last for up to 1 year and be extended with court approval. It allows for the police to confiscate firearms when someone is being taken to be evaluated under the Baker Act. There's now a waiting period that lasts 3 days or the length of the background check, whichever is longer, with a few exceptions. Bump fire stocks and similar devices are completely banned. And Florida's legislature has decided that 18 to 21-year-olds shouldn't be able to purchase a firearm from a dealer to defend themselves within their own homes. All in all, Florida's new law is the result of knee-jerk reactions pertaining to guns, rather than looking at the failings of law enforcement to prevent the recent tragedy from occurring in the first place. Time will tell whether the challenge to the ban on the firearm sales to those 18 to 21 withstands the challenge or not. Sick of bad information making its way around the internet? Make sure you share this video with your friends. Don't forget to hit that like button, get subscribed, and consider supporting us via the links down in the video description. If you haven't yet, be sure to download the Gun Collective podcast on iTunes, and as always, thanks for watching.
The shirts worn in today's video on the Gun Collective have been provided by Patriot Patch. Closed captions have also been brought to you by Patriot Patch Company. Be sure to click the link in the video description to check out all of their great products, including their cleaning mats.